preferences, consumer behavior. Start with a couple definitions: sensation and perception. There's a class in psychology, sensation and perception. It's taught at most universities, not taught here yet, but the whole class is on this topic, so we're gonna kind of go lightly on it, but you should know the difference between sensation and perception. Is that funny? So sensation is the immediate response of our sensory receptors, whereas perception is it's a little higher level. It's the process by which sensations are selected, organized, and interpreted. There's way too much stuff going on that you're sensing way more than you are perceiving. So the smell of the person sitting next to you, you may or may not be perceiving, right? All the ambient sounds that are going on, somebody riding behind you, that's something that you might be sensing, but not necessarily perceiving, right? So it's affecting your sensory receptors, but you're only perceiving it when you pay attention to it, right? When you become aware of it. I'm gonna turn my back to you right now. What color is my tie?
Red and black with white stripes.
You said red and black with white stripes?
Well, the whole thing is striped, but it's red, black, and white.
All right, that's pretty good.
I had no idea.
Who had no idea? I thought it was purple.
Second guess.
That's yeah. I've been known to wear a purple tie.
That's definitely orange and black.
It is orange and black.
For Halloween.
Yeah, thank you. But every one of you had sensed it, right? You saw me, and you saw me talk for a minute or two, right? But it didn't reach the level. So that's the difference between sensation and perception. You saw it, but it didn't come to the level of perception. Are you offended? Oh.
Is that a sensation?
Tell us more.
What's that?
Is that a sensation?
All right, so this, as you know, sounds, they come through, you sense them through, Taylor? Where do you sense sounds? It's good. This is pretty elementary, right, sound? And this is what we call bottom-up perceptual process, which is kind of the standard way you learn about sensation, right? And from about here over is sensation, right? From about exposure on this side, this is perception. But I want to talk about this because this is kind of normally how you learn about the process of sensation and perception, which is that you make sense of something based on the information that's provided you. We start with data. Data in this sense would be sight, sound, smells, tastes, textures, right? And we form our impressions based, or our perceptions are based on the information that our body is processing. And that's super basic, but the point is that's not the end of the story. That's what we call bottom-up processing. Top-down processing, let me, somebody I can pick on. Andrew. I'll pick on you. Will you read this?
I love Paris in the springtime.
That's good, is he right? Who got the two those? It's fun to pick on people. I get this wrong, yeah, when I first off. So there's two does, right? I love Paris in the springtime. Why did he not read it the?
His brain fixed it.
Yeah. So this is if it were bottom up, strictly bottom up, everybody would have read the same thing, which is I love Paris in the springtime, right? But why don't you read it that way? Why do you read it as I love Paris in the springtime?
It doesn't make sense.
Does it make sense? Yeah, so that's what we call top-down processing. It's our conceptions, our understanding, our experiences. That also affects how we interpret things. So the story is not just information, light hits our retinas and that information is processed and we make sense of it that way. It's also the case that our expectations affect our perceptions. The reason this is called bottom up and top down is it has a little bit to do with anatomy. So when you talk about like physical sensations, the way that works is it comes up from the spinal cord, right, and then it goes out from there. Same with vision and other senses. Vision comes through, vision does not come through the nose, but like scent comes through the nose, and then it's processed deep in the brain and then spreads from there. That's why they call it bottom up. Top down, this is where your beliefs, kind of the exterior of the brain, the cortex, that's where beliefs and understanding, kind of the highest level processing, that's it sort of at the top down level. And so when we talk about top down processing, that's where your expectations will affect the sensation and perception, whereas bottom up, that's where it's just the raw data. And here's another example. So this is obviously 12, 13, 14. You see it this way. So why is this top down?
Because you read it as B instead of 13,
Why do you read it as B?
because A and C are next to it.
Yeah, so your kind of your expectations and understanding, which are in the cortex, the outer parts of the brain, that affects how you perceive this. And I think we've got a couple of good videos that show top-down processing.
Here in LA, we are always obsessed with the latest food trends, and there are a lot of them. Right now, people are drinking butter in their coffee. Is anyone here doing this? To lose weight, people are drinking butter in their coffee. It's crazy, but maybe even crazier is all the cold-pressed juice stores I see popping up. Cold-pressed juice is supposed to be better for you. They say it resets your body, which is ridiculous, but people are paying like $8 a bottle for it. So I decided to invent my own juice company called JUCE, it's juice with no I. And I sent some people out to the farmer's market where people were buying organic fruits and vegetables. And we mixed up a very special concoction. Okay, so those are organic juices as they appear to be, but we used Fun Dip instead. That's the be equal and stick. We mixed Fun Dip with water and told people it was a natural juice called Soul.
We're here with our line of cold-pressed, natural, extraordinarily expensive beverages. Does that sound appealing to you?
That sounds appealing. That sounds very appealing.
Feel go for your lungs, for your liver, your spleen. How do you feel?
I feel great. And that's a much like lighter type, like definitely like kind of like a cleansing more.
Kind of like deep breath. It just feels, refreshing, like you just drank something that's good for you, and you just kind of take a deep breath, after sigh of relief. How about that? Yeah.
I would drink it regularly. It tastes good, and it seems like it's good for you, and it's not too sugary like a lot of juices are now. There's a juice taste to it.
Natural. It doesn't taste like chemically at all.
It's kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Like taking a little dip and some fun.
Yeah, like a little refreshing, like a little dip in the juice.
Right, and they like that. So then we got a can of Tang, the powder drink that the astronauts were forced to drink, and we mixed it in water, and we called this Cure. This one was called Cure. Let's see how they like this organic beverage.
My name's Alex. I'm from New Zealand.
Alex, are you a fan of organic, healthy juice?
Yes, I am.
Do you consider yourself a juice connoisseur?
Yes, definitely. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that's definitely citrus, some kind of citrus. It's not so sweet, it's just like, you really just squeezed it out of the fruit.
What's the difference between this and a beverage from concentrate?
It's fresh, much better. Much, much better. It's delicious.
Would you call it tangy?
No, it's not particularly sour, so I wouldn't really call it tangy. It's a little bit more muted than tangy, but definitely very light, very summer.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like a powdered drink,
Okay.
and 10 being the most organic thing imaginable.
Oh, it's a 10. It's a 10. No doubt about it.
Not even like a tiny dab.
No doubt.
Do you think it's worth that $19 price tag?
Yes. Yeah, your health is worth everything.
Yeah, all right, so next we melted some creamsicles. You know the delicious ice cream bar with the vanilla inside? And we just melted that and we told people it was a juice mix called Detox. And here
How
we
does
go.
this taste to you?
It tastes like natural, real juice, like it's pure juice. I don't feel no chemical, I don't feel anything, I just feel fruit, just natural.
Do you feel healthier just drinking it?
I do. I feel like I can go for a jog right now.
You'd probably like go for a jog and then like 20 minutes later feel horrible.
Yep.
Yeah, right. A bag of Skittles and some water into a blender. And we called this one Rainbow, I believe was what we called it. Basically corn syrup and artificial color in water. And we served it to the people at the farmer's market. And let's see now. Rainbow.
We have one called Rainbow.
Okay.
And you can just tell me what you're detecting.
Organic. It's delicious.
You don't feel thirsty or kind of quenches your thirst?
You don't feel like you're coated with just like a sugar
No,
wrapped up in water.
No, it's not, doesn't taste too sweet at all.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being Skittles and 10 being actual real fruit, where does this fall?
This is 9.
Are you getting the kale, obviously?
Okay, kale. I should know. Kale is delicious. This is my favorite one out of all of them, honestly.
Yes.
This is great. I love this one. This is a 10 in my eyes.
Maybe it's just because it's crushed up Skittles in water.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes.
Swear.
I swear.
Are you serious?
Yes.
It tastes healthy.
Try
I'm
it.
gonna start drinking Skittles now.
Good.
Taste the rainbow.
Taste it.
How did it taste organic?
I think it's.
So, tell me this. How was that top-down process?
They assumed that they were drinking something healthy.
And so,
They said it was healthy.
They tasted as
They tasted what they were expecting.
exactly, yeah, they tasted what they were expecting, that's top-down processing, right? And it's kind of tempting to say that or to think they're wrong, and in a way they're not wrong, right? The way they're wrong is kind of obvious, which is they're saying that, you know, it tastes like a breath of fresh air when it's in fact just a bunch of chemicals, or that it doesn't taste chemically. But the truth is that how you experience something has a lot to do with your expectations of it. So, you know, I don't necessarily think that they were lying. I think that they were talking about reporting the results of what it tasted like for them, which when they thought it was going to be organic, it tasted organic to them, right? And we all do this. Your experience at a restaurant, right, depends on your expectations of that restaurant. You can go into a great restaurant, you know, or you go into a dive, and if it looks kind of dirty, that's going to affect how. It's not just your perception. I mean, it'll affect how you taste the food, right? Your expectations genuinely affect the taste of things. And I've got another example that So they did a taste test. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but this is a pretty good study. They did a taste test with beers, and it was a blind taste test, meaning that it was just different kinds of beers that were, and you couldn't tell the label, right? As you can see, not a whole lot of difference color-wise, but this is right. I don't know exactly what the metrics are, but this is where they kind of came out taste-wise. So these obviously grouped together taste-wise. This not. Why?
Guinness is better.
What's that?
They didn't know they were drinking Guinness, right?
Did they?
Kind of have to. Guinness is like really dark.
Yeah.
Right. So Guinness doesn't look anything like these. Guinness looks very dark, right? These all look very light. And so the one that looked different is the one that tasted different.
I thought they had their eyes tied up too. That's what.
No.
Not fun. Just no labels.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good question, though. So yeah, this one looks different, and so that affects your taste. Then they redid the study, but they showed people the brands that they were drinking, so they knew the brands. What do you think happened then?
Everyone hated it.
It changed. So this is the results when they knew the brands, right? And so again, how is this top-down processing?
You have a preconceived notion of what beer is going to be good and beer is going to be bad. So when you drink it, they're like, yep, just like I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, so their expectations, their understanding of the brand affects how they taste the product. So what's the difference between Colt 45 and Budweiser? Do you know if you want to talk about this? Who's knowledgeable in Colt 45?
Tastes bread. I just tried you. Otherwise, it tastes a little bit better.
I don't know.
Colt 45 is hardcore. All right, sticking with beer for a while. This is back a ways, but Coors changed the label on their cans to include the phrase the banquet beer, and people went berserk because they thought that they had changed the label, and they wrote letters to Coors saying, "I hate this new formulation of your product." Right? I like the old Coors. This new Coors sucks. Right? No, nothing changed. It was the same thing. The only thing that changed was that they added this phrase, the banquet beer, and it caused people to taste it differently, and so they got upset and wrote letters to Coors. So that's topic. You want to see another one? Yeah. They had a great one. Disney's awful. I mean, Disney owns ABC, and ABC, Jimmy Kimmel's on ABC. These are super hard to find, and they keep moving. But I found the juice one again. This is a great one. Jimmy Kimmel does this really. He puts people on camera, and then people end up making fools of themselves by just trying to do what trying to make the interviewer happy a lot of times. But they did the one with the iPhone app where they told people that iPhone has this technology where it emits scents, and people would, he'd be like, okay, here's an orange scent, and people would sniff it, and be like, oh yeah, it smells like orange. Right, and that's another example of top-down process.
Wild Mustangs. Vuitton, the famous shoe designer. You know this guy? Well, he's I guess it's a guy. I don't know if it's, it could be a mythical figure like Orville Redenbacher for all I know. He or it just released a new limited edition nail polish that costs $675 for a little bottle of nail polish. Is that a lot for nail polish? I've never bought it. The polish, it's called Starlight, and it's the same shade of red you find on the bottom of these Christian Louboutin shoes. Now, I cannot imagine spending this much money on nail polish. I don't care whose name is on it, but some people will. So what we did today is we sent a camera to Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills to ask people what they thought about this new Louboutin nail polish, but instead of spending $675, we bought a bottle of nail polish at the drugstore for $5. We told them it was Christian Louboutin, and here's what they told us.
So today we have Christian Louboutin's brand new limited edition nail polish. Retails at $675, and we're happy to give you a look at it today.
All right.
Here, you can take a look. What do you love about it?
It's a nice it's a darker than like that bright cherry red color. So that's a little bit more classy about it. And it definitely looks like the bottom of a Louboutin heel, which is also very lovely.
What about this nail polish sets it apart from what you might find at a drugstore?
Looks like it has a good brush, go on smoothly, pretty good consistency, not too thick, not too thin.
I think I could go with a second coat, but even if I did only one coat, it's still very intense and bright.
And you just can't get that from a drugstore
now? No, that for sure.
Can you tell that it has that luxe Christian Louboutin?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm wearing shoes on my nails.
Can you open it and tell me what about this costs that $675 price tag?
Wow. Oh my god, it's so nice.
It stays the same.
Yeah. It doesn't look like you have to put like a bunch of layers on.
Yeah, it's really nice. It smells good too.
Do you think anyone with Louboutin could come up with that color?
I think Louboutin would be the only one. This is their signature red color.
Yes, it is.
Looks like it matches our sash.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. One more question. How could we fix the Ebola crisis in West Africa?
Tough question. I think that maybe instead of, we could help each other out by giving more vaccines over there and getting more medical staff. And to help the Ebola crisis in here is maybe have certain flights that aren't necessarily coming over.
I completely agree. I think I read somewhere that it was spread by like, I think it's like each other's spit or saliva. And I think just to stop it from spreading, they don't need to be touching each other. They need to make sure that they're always protected. And like she said,
yeah, I definitely agree. That's our point.
Great. And just tell me again how much you love the nail polish.
I love it. On a scale of 1 to 10, 100.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. Did you know there's some dumb?
All right, that's bottom up, top down. So sensory marketing is where you. Sensory marketing is where you try to appeal to multiple senses instead of just trying to, traditionally advertising and marketing, it's very heavy on vision. Sensory marketing is the idea that you're more effective if you try to appeal to people through multiple channels. So an example of this is the Omni Hotel in Los Angeles. And there are a couple different examples, but this is pretty good. So you come into the lobby and they have soft chimes playing. The idea is that's, right, they're trying to reach you through a channel, a sensory channel that you're not normally reached by marketers. The lobbies smells like lemongrass and green tea. They have bath salts that smell good in the rooms. Then they have mojito flavored jelly beans. They have Zen gardens. So the whole thing is, and then taste, they have a scented, you get the USA Today at your door. It's got a scented sticker that smells like a blueberry muffin with an advertisement for Starbucks. So the idea is they're not just, they're trying to reach their customers through all the different sensory channels. So we're going to talk about kind of each of the different sensory channels and kind of marketing implications for each of them. Obviously, when it comes to vision, that's the big one, especially for advertising. we'll take Apple for example. Obviously, their advertising relies heavily on vision, but so does their retail out. So this advertising, that's the promotion part of marketing. Their stores, what part of the marketing mix is that? Place, right on, the distribution channel. So their store designs, how are they designed? Yeah, it's visually appealing. It's not, you're not overwhelmed, and it's like their products are, which are simple and clean and neat. Their stores are simple and clean and neat. Their packaging too is that's very deliberate. The packaging. And the way you open a new iPhone. Has anyone opened a new iPhone lately? How do you do it?
I don't, I have Apple, but I used it.
Does it just pop right off?
No,
Yeah.
It's slow, right? They build some suspense. It's meant, and that's very deliberate, right? That it has to come off slowly to kind of, I don't know, build suspense or something. But they make that process of seeing it for the first time more involved than just popping the lid off, right? And then the product itself, color, size, style, that's all, through the vision channel. And Apple does a good job with product design. So vision, you would know what color Lexus makes most of its cars.
What?
You say white?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
observation.
Yeah. Age-wise, who's more likely to buy Lexus? Right, that's their market. So there's a link here. Part of it is, I guess that this sort of gives it away, doesn't it? The old, yeah. But the point is, as you age naturally, you perceive colors as less bright, and so old people are more drawn to brighter colors as to compensate for kind of their decreased ability to perceive brightness, right? And so Lexus is wise in making their cars the brightest color possible, and it's not just kind of white. These things almost glow. They're so white, right? And that's deliberate, right? That's more appealing to people who are older. So trade dress is a term for colors that are associated with some companies. Kodak has some colors. That's maybe not a great example. 7-Eleven, though, right? The colors that they use are that are associated with them, and companies will go to great lengths to protect their trade dress. I mean that, in the legal sense, they'll defend their colors against. So if there's a convenience store that opened up that used these same colors, 7-Eleven would file lawsuits to prevent them from using these colors because people would misperceive it as potentially a 7-Eleven. So that's trade dress. Another example is Owens Corning. Owens Corning trademarked this color of insulation. They trademarked that color, so other insulations can't use that color because that's associated with them. Vision, sound. So history of using sound in marketing. Go ahead, Ben.
So if you take somebody else's colors or their design, sort of, is that I don't know, is that stealing their kind of the brand, that brand loyalty from other people?
So the legal standard is whether a typical person would be confused and mistake one for the other, and there's a lot of wiggle room there, and I'm sure a lot of money is spent trying to convince people one way or the other. But just, if it's difficult to tell the difference, but there is technically a difference, that's below threshold.
Well, yeah, I just noticed there's a sign that I've seen a bunch of times on the west end of town for a construction company, and they have almost the same logo in like the exact same colors as Harley Davidson does. So I didn't know if they like, if that's like a strategy, maybe, you know, Harley Davidson's been around forever, they're like, you know, their brand is associated with quality. If they were kind of like trying to steal that quality that people perceive by using the same kind of logo and colors, even though it's a different.
So that would probably be a better question for Tim Lewis, but my hunch is that it would have to be the same industry, because Harley Davidson would have a really hard time showing any damage done by construction.
Well, yeah, I was just curious, we were talking about like the trade dress, if that's kind of like, not smuggling authority, but sort of, you know?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they're trying to use that quality that people perceive about one business and kind of transfer it seems like, to theirs.
I don't think I just liked Harley Davidson.
That could be it too. That could be it too. But yeah, probably there's probably an element of that where people will you know, associate certain color combinations with what is it? Black.
It's black and orange.
That could be a lot of things though.
So in the case of like our marketing here, like for the screen, it's like Harry Potter themed, but that's still technically, because we're using this Harry Potter theme to generate way more revenue than we would have if it was like an elephant theme, probably.
I go to that soon.
For most of us, anyway.
Yeah.
Are they essentially kind of stealing the Harry Potter theme in order to generate revenue? But I'm sure like Harry Potter, as you going to college campuses, like not Harry Potter himself, but like Universal Studios or wherever they sit, isn't coming around and checking that so we can get away with it. But essentially we're using Harry Potter.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. I've seen those around and wondered like, what's the, I don't know. My hunch is that somebody at some point is gonna say, you can't do that anymore, but who knows?
Well, you can say the name or use the pictures, like on the logo, that like it's not Harry Potter.
It's,
anymore.
yeah, it's not, it's,
I know, but it's still the same font. It doesn't say Harry Potter anywhere. Or then the Las Vegas Cafe, like there's like a Harry Potter Las Vegas Cafe, and they can't use the name or anything. So they have everything like that, but they don't say Harry Potter anywhere because they're not allowed to, and they would have to pay.
So that's like stealing 7-Eleven's colors.
Yeah, we do have a bunch of Harry Potter stuff around though, but maybe.
but it's like our graphic designers have made everything, like
Oh, I see.
everything is originally
So
made, like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they're basing it off of Harry Potter, but I think Harry Potter people would almost take that as a compliment, like we're throwing this huge party like for them, like,
Welcome, Harry.
yeah, like.
All right, we gotta move on. Enough Harry Potter.
I was gonna say, with the construction thing, I know that even if you stole the exact same logo and it was like Harley Davidson Construction, as long as you weren't big, then they'll just let it slide. And then once your company gets too big, then they'll come in and sue you, because now you have money that they can actually take from you.
That's probably true.
Whereas if you're just
Yeah.
a small company in the middle of Cedar City.
They'll wait for you to succeed.
Yeah.
With that example, I work for an agriculture manufacturing company, and the machine we make has to be paired with like a John Deere or a Massey Ferguson or Case or something, and so we'll color match because farmers are nuts, and they're the pickiest people in the world and want everything to match. So we took when we match it to a John Deere machine, then we'll do green plastics, and we started to do yellow wheels. And the first machine that we released like that, John Deere came after us and said, no, absolutely not. We have trademark on green plastics and yellow wheels.
That's their trade dress.
Yeah, so that's their trade dress, and so we had to stop. But we can still do green plastics, we just can't have yellow wheels.
That's a great example.
So,
Great example. All right, back to sound. Sound affects people's feelings and behaviors. As you know, higher tempo music tends to move people faster. If you're a grocery store chain, do you want people moving fast or slow through the grocery? Why do you want them moving slow? They stay, and yeah, the idea is for every minute that you stay, I saw one study, you spend 1% more for every additional minute they can get you to stay. So if they can get you to stay, a couple, 5, 10 extra minutes, you'll spend more money. And so that's why Muzak very deliberately is slowed down versions of songs, right? Because it slows you down a little bit, you stay a little longer, they get a little more revenue. Delta Airlines has been experimenting with this where they play upbeat, fast music. When? Boarding. Once people are on, they slow it down because they want people to be calm. Right? They don't want people too amped up. There's one New York grocery store chain that reported 32% more sales when they put slow music in. That's probably the kind of thing that would normalize after a while, but with that initial placement of slow music, they got a big bump in sales because people are going slowly, spending more time, spending more money. Volume. Sometimes music's in the foreground versus back. Which is louder, music in the foreground or background?
Foreground.
Foreground. What's the store that has music in the foreground? Starbucks? Hollister.
When Hollister opened in Salzburg, they had music in the foreground so loud that people were getting angry, and then they like pushed it to the background. But before it was really loud and really dark, and you could very dark.
And what does it smell like in a Hollister? So that's another example of sensory marketing, right? They're getting you through your ears, through your nose.
When was the last time you bought Hollister?
I was maybe 14.
Hey guys, I'm trying to have class here. Sorry. I don't want to have to sit you boy, girl, but I'm willing to take that step. So in general, young shoppers tend to be okay with music in the foreground or the background, whereas people who are older, they don't like music in the foreground and they're more likely to leave. Unless it's was it Salzburg you said?
I think the young people didn't mind, but the parents that went with them, they were angry. They also couldn't see the prices properly because it was so dark.
So every Hollister ever is.
No big surprise. You sell more seasonal stuff depending on, during, if you put seasonal music on, Christmas music, you're going to sell more Christmas stuff. That's no big surprise. Probably more interesting is this study they did on classic. So this is in a wine store, and they played two different kinds of music. One was top 40, and the other was classical music. What effect do you think that might have had on wine sales?
Classical people would have bought more wine.
Yeah. So when you're in the store when classical music was playing, people, they didn't actually buy more wine, they bought more expensive wine, right? So it's not like, classical music doesn't make you want to get smashed, right? Which would mean that you would, right, if that was the case, people would buy it.
Did the top 40 make them want to buy more to party?
No, that was just the comparison group, the top 40, so classical music people spent more money, but they didn't actually buy more wine. They just bought more expensive wine. And then eBay did this. They experimented with this where for a while and in select areas they had classical music playing while you shopped on eBay, which this seems like a terrible idea in general, but one of the things they found was that people bought more luxury goods when they heard classical music. So here's another study with wines. They played, I'm going to skip this because we're not done. German wines, French wines. Haptic senses. This is the sense of touch. This is the least used in marketing, but you can see it some places. So for instance, this is a stock report for a company where they send it out to their investors, and to kind of give the sense of quality, they have this raised paper that's heavy, and it's meant to feel, more substantial. You see this with Apple too, right? Apple products are heavy, right? The boxes are heavy, and that again is to make it feel a little bit more substantial. We've talked about the endowment effect. Does anyone remember what that is?
When something becomes yours, you're more likely to appraise it as more valuable. Is it that one?
Yeah, so once you take possession of something, you tend to value it more. In the case of Apple and Best Buy, how do they take advantage of that?
When you hold it, you picture yourself like it's yours now, and somehow now you're more willing to buy it.
Yeah, they make stuff easy to access physically, so people are touching stuff, holding it.
Best
and then,
Buy, they're always like making you like, here, play with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's it.
Would that work in dealerships too, where they say, hey, let's go look at this car? So you come in, you say, I'm just looking for a particular car. You say, no, let's go look at some cars first.
Yeah, no, it's you get people to test drive. That's the endowment effect. Waiters and tips. They one study found that I don't remember that. I think it was 17% more in tips if they touched customers twice. For what it's worth. Who's a server here? No waitresses or?
Not here, but back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't touch people, no.
No. Are you gonna start?
Sorry?
Are you gonna start?
No.
Maybe occasionally. All right, taste. Flavor houses are it's kind of an interesting part of marketing. They create new flavors. Excuse me. Ow.
What did I tell you?
You're a powerful man. All right, flavor houses hire flavorists. This just seems like a great job to me. You come up with new flavors for a living. And the interesting thing, I think, with the rise of flavor houses and flavorists is it's actually linked to refrigeration technology. When refrigerators were introduced, people started to expect that food would last longer. And along with that ability for food to last longer, the processes that were required to make food last longer took a lot of the taste out of it. And so there were no flavorists until there was refrigeration, right? Because there was no need for heavily processing foods, right? So refrigeration set up the expectation that you could shop once a week and you'd be fine, or that food would last a long time. And so people manufacturers started processing their food. The processing takes so chicken nuggets, for example, McDonald's doesn't do this, but a lot of the chicken nuggets that you buy, like frozen, they're so heavily processed that they don't taste like chicken, so they reintroduce artificial chicken flavor that's been created, from a flavor house to reintroduce the taste of chicken back into it. And does that make sense? So that's how flavors kind of link with refrigeration. Scent. Scent is pretty closely linked with emotions. Has anyone noticed this? Where you get a particular scent that brings you back to a time and a place, or can evoke some kind of strong memories, both good and bad. Like it can create some pretty bad memories too. But part of the reason is the anatomy of the brain. So you've got this is a nose, and you've got the olfactory bulb here, which is where sense is. This is where the sensation occurs, right? And it's brought here into the olfactory bulb, and this is the olfactory bulb. This is the limbic system. The limbic system is,
Is that why when you get hit in the nose, your eyes water? It's because the olfactory bulb that has to do with the senses is right behind your eyes.
I don't know.
Probably just because it hurts.
I don't know.
Well, it's not like crying, your eyes just water. Like you can get hit in the nose and not cry, and they just still water. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering.
I've never cried, I don't. But the limbic system is responsible for motivation and emotion in a lot of ways. So food, sex, status, fear, love. The limbic, so sense is closely tied with all these things. The scent is, and so when you smell something, it gets brought, right? Here's that limbic system where that occurs, and the olfactory bulb is linked right into it, and so that's why scent is so powerful when it comes to emotions and motivation and stuff like that. This is we're out of time. On Monday we're going to have a guy come. He's a scent marketer, and he's going to talk about scent marketing.